You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button. All right, usually Shea Dixon is with us here on Tuesdays. Shea, as I understand, is on a plane going to Vegas to watch Pearl Jam. I am massively jealous. And but Billy Embody, good enough to pinch hit. How are you, dude?
Doing well. Not as good as our friend Shea, though.
I know, man. Are you a PJ fan?
I'm not the biggest, but I absolutely respect.
Get out.
I respect their. I don't listen to them religiously, but I know them very well.
I know. I'm really, really jealous. We're playing the MGM Grand Garden Arena. I've seen UFC there. I've never seen Pearl Jam there or a concert there, but I'd love to go. But anyway, Shady living his best life. How about this LSU staff, Billy? Let's delve into it, man. The number one topic that everybody continues to discuss is the search for a defensive tackle. Can we sort of clear the deck and kind of just discuss like what options seem to be still on the table for LSU right now?
Yeah, there are really a handful of options at most at the moment, it appears, but they are kicking the tires on a couple of guys, and one in particular is one that just wrapped up an official visit on Tuesday, and that is JVR Suggs out of Grand Valley State, so a very familiar program for LSU head coach Brian Kelly and his sons, and just a program that they kind of got the tip on this guy that, hey, he's worth looking at. He is somebody who's picked up a lot of interest as of late with Michigan, USC, Wisconsin, Arkansas, and plenty of others trying to make him a priority here late before the summer begins. And he checked out, and LSU brought him in for an official visit, and it just wrapped up on Tuesday. He's about to fly out, actually, and head back home to make his decision. But LSU sits in a good spot here. He's somebody that really was productive this season, 21 tackles, 7 of which went for loss, 3 sacks, 5 pass breakups. So that was in 2022, and then 7.5 tackles for loss, 5 sacks this past season. And he's not the biggest guy in the world. I mean, 6 foot 280, but that's kind of what at least made him intriguing for Blake Baker, Bo Davis. They've kind of been able to develop some of these undersized defensive tackles and get them to produce. And Blake Baker did it at Missouri. Bo Davis did it with some players at Texas. Byron Murphy kind of comes to mind there. Not your prototypical, 6'4", 6'5" defensive tackle there, but that is the main target right now. And then LSU's really looking at players that can help them just be better overall. Like, if they can't figure out a way to find a true defensive tackle that can help them and they feel like they can improve their defense with, well, they're going to go look at other positions like the edge spot, the corner spot, the safety spot, and see if they can bring in players that can positively impact the defense and kind of maybe help hide the deficiencies at the defensive tackle spot. But yeah, it's been quite the journey to get to this point. And, as much as Gio Paez has been, looked at as somewhat of a toss-in as far as this transfer portal class, the Wisconsin defensive tackle transfer is looking like somebody that's going to have to be relied upon a good bit this year.
Billy, at this point, and this kind of been my contention, it seemed like LSU was looking for a starter. At this point, they're just searching for a body, like anybody. Does this team really need just a body at that position?
I think so. And the reason why is those big guys in the middle, they need all the help they can get in terms of staying fresh so that maybe they can give you a little bit more at 100% with the snaps that they get. If you are sitting there and relying upon Jacoby and Guillory and Gio Paez and Preston Hickey and some of the other guys, hoping Dominic McKinley, who pumped for you to have him on the show, obviously, is going to step up and really produce as a true freshman. That's a lot of pressure on those guys, and the big guys in the SEC, they need players to help them stay fresh. And so that's why JVR Suggs makes a lot of sense. Is he isn't somebody that jumps out at you like any of the ones that they were pursuing earlier in the spring portal window in terms of, they're from a named program or they've produced or started or what have you. he's able to at least come in, be an older player, help for 2 years. He's going to be a culture fit because of all the research that they've been able to gather from Brian Kelly and his family side of things. And so you've got to just kind of hope that the quantity that you bring in can help the guys improve the quality of their play by being able to rotate. And maybe you say, okay, we're going to do it by committee versus we're bringing in one of these big ticket guys to play 70 snaps a game, and we're going to have to get the best out of them every single snap, which is hard for these big guys to do.
Billy Embody's with us on Twitter at Billy Embody. Is there another, if it's, let's say they miss on JVR Suggs or don't take him or whatever, or is there any other name out there that we should really be paying attention to right now?
Yeah, we've seen Brandon Lane, a Stephen F. Austin transfer, kind of been connected to LSU, but we haven't heard anything on our end in terms of much beyond that. We haven't heard too much traction there, so it doesn't seem like they're going to make a move there. That's the one name that we're really watching, though, in terms of if they decide to turn up the heat. But as of now, it doesn't seem like they will. One player we are keeping an eye on is Tyler Barron. He's not a true defensive tackle, but he can help LSU in terms of improving their defensive line, and he's a bigger body. He's currently committed he's at Louisville right now, transferring from that program. And, Ole Miss actually signed him to an SEC agreement, which is kind of it's a binding piece of paper that keeps SEC schools from not tampering with each other's committed transfers, like if you even sign him. But he has other programs like Miami and USC that have been trying to get him, but Ole Miss has at least signed him. So they're going to have to decide if they want to let him out, if he ultimately doesn't want to go to play for the Rebels. But so that one's an interesting one, but he's 6'5", 260, has 100-plus tackles on his career, 27 tackles for loss, 13.5 sacks, 4 pass breakups. So he's a good player. He could help LSU without a doubt. But there is that kind of red tape, so to speak, when it comes to if LSU can really go in there. Ole Miss would have to release him from that piece of paper, and then he can open things up. But so never dull moment in terms of the transfer portal. But that is another name to know, at least on the defensive line. He would help overall.
Got a couple more. It's interesting that so much of the focus has been at defensive tackle, and Brian Kelly just flatly said that was the position they were looking for. But we learned today that Wesley Walker is the guy that LSU has interest in. They're trying to bring him in for a visit. He's a defensive back. He's kind of at a winding path, Georgia Tech to Tennessee to Louisville, now back in the portal. What can you tell us about Walker and LSU's level of interest?
Yeah, LSU just wants to, again, kind of going back to make the defense overall better. They do have some scholarships to play with. And Walker has 184 tackles and 11 tackles for loss in 45 career games. So he's played a lot. He's visited Michigan recently. He is scheduled to visit LSU. We're watching to see if that visit still happens, but he is no doubt an experienced player that could help make this defense better as a whole, while some of these younger safeties continue to develop and just create more competition. And Blake Baker really does a nice job of using his safeties in kind of some different roles, so maybe that helps him in that regard. Anytime you can bring in a player this experienced, I think you should kick the tires on it. And so they have the scholarships to do so, and maybe that leads to LSU bringing him in. But he did just visit Michigan, and he's, at least as of now, going to LSU. And so we'll be keeping an eye on if that happens and if they end up finding a good fit there.
Billy Embody's with us. Hey, before you go, I mean, so much of the conversation obviously is centered around the portal and these portal targets. We've sort of taken our eye off the ball a little bit on the class of 25. We're heading toward camp season. Are we expecting any movement, action, commitments that could pop here in May or into June?
Yeah, in-state, James Simon is deciding. It does seem like the Calvary Baptist running back is going to end up going out of state with LSU having 2 running back commits. But that's the only kind of commitment that I think we're keeping an eye on right now as far as a decision upcoming. But the first weekend of June is going to be pretty awesome for LSU. I mean, they're going to have double-digit visitors on campus for official visits. I'm counting right now 4 5-stars already slated to visit LSU that weekend. So that is going to be a massive official visit weekend for Brian Kelly and his staff to kick off the summer. They're right there for the number 1 class, battling Ohio State for that spot. They're number 2, LSU's number 2 right now. And you know, when it comes to the summer, it's monumental in terms of setting themselves up to potentially land that number 1 overall class. They have Bryce Underwood, they have DeCorian Moore, Harlem Berry as their 5 stars that they've got on board. And, you know, you can't let, I think, a multi-month mismanagement of kind of the defensive tackle position blind you when it comes to where LSU is trending on the high school recruiting front, which is very much a sign that they're at least in decent hands when it comes to NIL as well. I mean, they have the number 1 overall prospect in the country committed, and he's a quarterback. So they've got to be doing something right on that front to have him on board. But, you know, I just think the staff was faced with a tough deck of cards when it came to all the changes on the defensive side, all the personnel staff that was changed this offseason. Austin Thomas was just brought in. Preston Tiffany was brought in as the new DPP. So there's a lot of changes that have just happened around LSU, and unfortunately it hasn't allowed them to, for whatever reason, grab a defensive tackle. What they've still been able to do is assemble a really, really good class that sits number 2 in the country in the class of 2025, and I expect them to add some really nice pieces this summer to that group.
He is Billy Embody on 3, the Bengal Tiger. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for the time.
Anytime, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.